Hello, it's Andrew Merritt. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important topics of my career as an orthopedic surgeon, which is how do we prevent an ACL injury? Obviously, we've talked a lot about treating them, but are they preventable? So let's just get right into it. Are they preventable? The answer is yes, at least most or many of them. And so we're going to talk about how that is and how do we prevent a re-tear if you've already gone through surgery and had a tear. So there's been a lot of studies on this. This is not a new topic. There's a lot of ways that we've looked at and programs to work on preventing the ACL, because a lot of it comes down to the mechanics. If you go back and look at the ACL injury and overview videos, we talk about the mechanics are so important. So does warm up and stretching and changes to pre-participation, getting ready to participate in the sport help? Well, there's lots of studies on this, up to an 88% reduction. There's some private companies that have made a warm up with reported significant reductions. One of the most common being the FIFA 11, which is widely available, and we'll talk about it. It's free to download. There's endless videos on YouTube that talk about this warm-up routine, and just the warm-up routine can significantly decrease the risk of ACLs. This is particularly since it's FIFA, it's around soccer, but the concept is the same: significant reductions in ACL tears. So this is a well-researched topic. This is nothing new, and we're going to dive in. So we got to again talk about why these happen. Well, in all my other videos, we've talked about how the knee buckles inwards. This creates a rotation force on the outer side of the knee. That's what snaps the ACL. So it starts with the weak core and the hip. There's a big discussion of quad dominant individuals. So if your quads are very strong relative to your hamstrings, what will happen is you can get up to speed, you can run fast, you can go to pivot, but the hamstrings are the things that slow you down. When that doesn't happen, the tibia slides forward and we get that stress on the ACL. Another one is just the poor mechanics. This is sometimes why females, or one of the aspects of why females tear their ACL at a much higher rate, because their mechanics, they naturally come in a little bit more knock-kneed. So this is what poor mechanics look like. So if we land from getting a rebound or land from jumping up in volleyball and your knee is inside your ankle, this is getting already set up in that position. Let me go back a slide. We're already halfway to this position. If we're out like this, we're never going to tear our ACL. This is a position that cannot tear the ACL, or even just neutral. So we want to do that. We want to not have our knees slide past our toes. So this is all things that are actually learnable. This is what physical therapy can work with you on after you've sustained an injury and need to go through injury prevention as you return to sports. So this is some of the mechanics that we work on to prevent the ACL injuries. These are some of the prevention routines that are out there. You can search around. There's lots of them. The most widely discussed is the FIFA 11, like we talked about. There's some private ones in different countries. And then a group in Seattle came together and actually started their own injury prevention. And on their website, they have a printable 8.5 by 11 sheet that a coach can have and work into the normal routine. So essentially, it's a series of warm-ups that start with warm-up and stretching, leg and core strengthening, plyometrics, and then agility drills. Everyone's a little different in how they space these out, but the general routine is sort of the same. And this is the key. It's not to make practice longer. We're not trying to take, coaches are very worried about, well, I can't have a 2.5 hour long soccer practice or whatever it is. No, this is made to be incorporated to the warm-up. These take 20 minutes or less and are incorporated. By the time you're done with that, you have done your warm-up. You've just done a warm-up in a way that teaches good mechanics and does neuromuscular training that we'll talk about. So it's made to be incorporated into the normal warm-up. That's a big thing when we talk as a selling point to coaches. So what is neuromuscular training? You don't have to read all of this. Essentially, it's an exercise program that focuses on the communication between the brain, the nervous system, and then the muscles. So we teach how to land, how to get the knee to not buckle inwards. What's the correct position? Because if we train it, we will get that neuromuscular connection. And then when it comes to the game time, when you're looking at the soccer ball over here, but you need to pivot, your body's going to naturally do that. So different exercises that are incorporated in this: coordination, plyometrics, agility. So just to look at the FIFA 11 Plus, for example, again, go Google this. There's tons of videos. This isn't my specialty. It's just something I'm passionate about. There, it starts with some running exercises. We even start into some bumping or shoulder contact to simulate getting off balance and still landing in the appropriate position. Quick forwards and backwards running, getting that start stop, getting your knees to not cross over your toes, getting good position of the body. Then onto strength, plyometrics, and balance. And again, there's videos for every single one of these. This is just getting the muscles warmed up. There's hamstring strength, because we always ignore the hamstring. Everyone's interested in working out their quads, but we got to get the hamstring strong, because we talked about that quad hamstring imbalance. Working on jump, working on landing, and then balance with single leg so that our leg doesn't bend in. A lot of people, if they just stand on one leg, they'll already start to kind of go into that at-risk position. And then there's running exercises. So when we're running or bounding and planting and cutting, there's keys on these handouts that are made to sort of key into the coach of what they should be looking for. For example, not getting into this position, right? That bent knee position where their hip is outside their knee. We want it to be, we want it to be in line right there. So there's these little cues that we use in this training program, either with an athletic trainer or the coach. So this is the FIFA 11. It's made to be the part of the normal warm up. You can find this information all over the internet. Frankly, I think the FIFA 11 one's really good. Well-detailed videos on every single one of those, printouts to be incorporated into the normal practice flow. So that's on YouTube. I also on my website have some injury prevention information, especially since this is, this is often young athletes, but myself, 45 at this point, and kind of the weekend warrior. I like athletics, I like activities, but I'm not going through soccer practice 3 times a week. So I made a whole routine. Just if you're want to get up there skiing, want to go play a little bit of kickball with the friends, go play some softball, a much less intense, more just modified for the kind of weekend warrior, I've made a little routine on my website as well. Another big factor in ACL prevention is not just the warm-up. That's a very well-researched aspect of it. But there's increasing research about single sport specialization. Single sport specialization means at a young age, picking one sport and you just do that sport year round. I'm not getting into the politics of all of the pressure that's on kids to choose a sport early, but the data suggests that is not advantageous. It's not advantageous in making it to a high level. It's not advantageous as far as injury prevention and avoiding injuries. The problem is that you're continually reworking the same muscles, the same patterns, and your neuromuscular training is often related to poor form, poor mechanics, because you're just focused on the sport. So a lot of things, there's very interesting articles on ESPN. It's made the sort of common literature on ESPN. It's not just in the orthopedic literature about single sport specialization. It's good to cross-train. Many pro athletes cross-trained all through high school. From an injury standpoint, again, politics aside, from an injury standpoint, it's best to not single sport specialize at an early age. Do swimming. Swimming is going to help your coordination, help your upper extremities, even if you're a soccer player. Do track and field. Do different sports to mix in, and you will, based on the studies, have a lower risk of injury. This has been also studied in the orthopedic literature, looking at single sport specialization and the trending pattern towards higher injury rates, especially related to the ACL. So what is my plan? So if you have surgery, we care about your recovery from that surgery and your prevention of a re-tear and prevention of what we call contralateral injury, or the other leg. So after surgery, I recommend 9 months until return to sports. That's the biological healing time frame. That's not necessarily when everyone's ready to get back to sports. That also depends on functional recovery. During that recovery, we focus on the uninjured leg. There's actually, in lots of studies, a higher chance of another tear of the ACL being the other leg than the one that we operate. So we cannot ignore the other side. Sometimes there's just focus on the injured side, but we got to focus on both sides, especially in that 6 to 9 month range as we're starting to do sport specific drills. Neuromuscular training, even in physical therapy, starting at 4 or 5 months, really working on the patterns to prevent getting into that at-risk position. Your therapist should be talking about these things with you as you go through training. Physical therapy often performs, and we recommend a return to play evaluation before returning to sports. So that means not just the 9-month biological healing timeframe, but you're also ready to return to play. Your core, your hips, all of that's strong. You're balancing well. Your mechanics are good. Your knees aren't going forward. Your hamstrings are strong. You've overcome this operation. That's when it's the right time to play. So I've, in some of the other videos, talked about, even in the NFL, the average time that they return is about 13 months. So even though 9 months biologically we feel it's strong enough, a lot of people aren't ready even at that point. So it's when you're functionally ready as well. And then when you get back, look into some of these warm-up routines. Talk to your coach. Unfortunately, it's just sometimes on the patient or the family to sort of insist on these warm-ups. What about ACL brace? I get asked about this all the time. It's really not shown to prevent ACL injuries. It's complicated. Why? Well, it's actually not that complicated. Let's look at a knee model real fast. Remember, we've talked all along, an ACL tear is a rotational issue on the knee. The outer side of the knee rotates. That's what puts the stress on the ACL. The problem with a brace is it's on your skin, and the skin has movement. So the brace can be completely stable, strapped down tight, and your knee, it only takes a couple centimeters of movement here. The knee can move that much while the brace is still on. So except in certain circumstances, chronic, like multiple re-tears, people that are very valgus, low intensity sport positions like linemen, things like that, we can use braces. Oftentimes that's more even just for the other ligaments in the knee. But generally bracing is not what we recommend, because the studies just show it doesn't prevent it, because they don't stop that rotation. The 9-month thing is important. And the reason why is that the graft actually takes continues to heal for a full 2 years. People that go back before 9 months versus those that go back after 9 months have a significant higher re-tear rate, but we often don't see that re-tear rate till 2 years or more. Meaning, because we went back when it wasn't strong, that graft was weakening. And here's a graph from a study showing the difference. Here's the re-tear rate of people that waited 9 months. Here's 9 months. So people that went back early did have some early re-tears, absolutely. But interestingly, what we see is when they really get back, the 2-year time frame, it skyrockets, because that graft did not get revascularized. It did not mature. That process stopped because of that early play. So I am pretty strict in my recommendation of 9 months till you get back, even if functionally you're doing really well. Some people even say that we should wait 2 years to return. Now, I rarely advocate this. Certain very high risk population individuals, multiple re-tears, certain aspects of things, but it's just food for thought that there's actually data and people proposing out there that we should wait the full 2 years for a return to sports. Now, none of us really recommend that. We try to strike a balance between too long, it's strong enough, and too soon. So 9 months and functionally ready is what we all do, but it does keep healing for a full 2 years. So I have a lot on this on my website, a lot on YouTube. It's fascinating. I hope you enjoy learning about the ACLs. If you're going through this or your kid's going through this, understanding the mechanics, understanding what actually happens in the knee, and now with this video, hopefully understanding how to stop this from happening again. This is my life's mission, and I hope that you've learned some from this, and together we can stop this epidemic. So I appreciate you watching. And as always, please contact us if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.